Hi, everyone. Very excited to be here today. So I'm Katie Secret. I'm the EVP of Global Marketing at Teads. And I'm very excited to be moderating what I think will be a very fun follow-up to everything that David just shared. And that's a fireside chat between Jeremy Arditi, our Chief Business Officer at Teads, as well as Katie Klein, the Chief Investment Officer of OMG NA, of course. So we're very excited to get this group together today to talk about how, like David was saying, the open internet really is transforming and changing at a more rapid pace than ever before. We know that the way people interact with different media channels is really evolving, and that AI is only going to increase that even more rapidly. So we're excited to talk about how both of you are advising your clients from a platform and tech perspective, as well as from an agency perspective, and how to navigate all of that change. Before I dive into it, though, would you both like to introduce your roles and just a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Katie mentioned, my name is Katie Klein. I am the Chief Investment Officer for Omnicom Media Group North America. So I am responsible for driving our go-to-market strategy across all platforms and partners on behalf of our client partners, and ensuring that our clients are delivering maximum value, which these days is very much driven by delivering business outcomes.
Awesome. Jeremy?
Great, and as Katie mentioned, I'm Jeremy Arditi, Chief Business Officer and Co-President of the new Teads. I came from the legacy Teads side of the house, where I spent over 14 years. And I spend most of my time driving our commercial strategy and innovation agenda to better serve our customers. And this is obviously a time of giant disruption and giant innovation. I've been personally getting my hands very dirty in a lot of the AI opportunities to learn in a very hands-on way how to best support the ecosystem and play our part in driving some of the things that David mentioned in the keynote earlier.
Awesome. So let's start with a general question. We know, as we just discussed, that the consumer journey is rapidly changing. Consumers are also spending an increasing amount of time with new experiences like CTV, streaming, retail media, shoppable media. Their ability to travel throughout different channels is increasing exponentially. So as that journey changes, as the funnel continues to collapse, how are you advising your clients how to navigate?
Yeah, so you are absolutely right about the funnel continuing to collapse. And actually, last year, Omnicom released a study that showed roughly 80% of consumers do actually skip steps along their path to purchase. So what this means is it completely shakes up the way that we think about the traditional definition and the traditional role of media channels. And where we are advising clients is you have to be much more data-centric, data-informed, agile, nimble in terms of really curating what are those end-to-end experiences for their customers. And one of the things that Omnicom also has, for a very, very long time stood behind is being driven by audience-based planning. So again, following the audience along their path to purchase. And where we think that AI is actually going to supercharge that is AI takes audience and moves it from being a targeting limit. I only want to target this particular audience to actually being a multiplier. And being able to look at audiences not just based on past behavior, not just based on kind of modeling out things, but truly what is very predictive in terms of the actions that they are going to take. And having that kind of audience as a multiplier view really does enable you to follow that consumer along their journey and along their need state and how to best meet them where they are.
It makes a lot of sense, and the idea of using the multiplier effect to kind of think about all the different touch points that you need to follow someone throughout the day across. How do you, Jeremy, think about that from a platform perspective?
I think that kind of collapsing of the consumer journey in juxtaposition to kind of AI offers a few really interesting opportunities. And we're in Cannes, so I would start with creative and how we can leverage AI to adapt great creative ideas that are human originated, but that can be made much more engaging in a faster way across all of the different potential touch points and across this very fragmented media ecosystem that we operate in. As much as we operate in the media ecosystem, the single biggest lever that we can pull to drive media results is creative. And depending on who you listen to out there, it's somewhere around 2/3. Creative drives around 2/3 of media performance. And so I'm excited to continue to leverage technology and AI to drive better consumer experiences in this fragmented ecosystem. And often we're caught in a short time frame, short turnarounds. We have a great idea for, we've got a great key visual or something that's going to work great on a television screen, but isn't necessarily going to translate well throughout all the touch points. I think we have an ability to drive a force multiplication through creative, first of all. I think the second area that's really interesting is the volume of insights and how we learn from those insights, be they audience-based or business-based, and the time frame in which we can learn and act on those insights is going to be significantly collapsed and just create a great engine for bringing new ideas to the table in a semi-automated, human-in-the-loop kind of way.
Mm-hmm. You spoke a little bit about consumer experience, so let's talk about how that's going to change. I think we all agree that the way people learn and find information and travel throughout the world is going to be massively informed by AI, as both of you just said. How are you thinking about the way that AI is going to transform the consumer experience on the open internet, especially when it comes to learning, finding information, interacting with brand messages? I imagine the traditional experience is going to look wildly different when we talk about advertising experiences 5 years from now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the first areas that we've seen that is actually through search. Search is such a personal behavior. I mean, search really is a behavior even more than a channel. So that's an area that we've been quite focused on, and actually relates really well to your point about the creativity and the importance of that. So we've developed an agentic solution for search ad copy. So what we've seen is when we deploy this and we are marrying kind of the audience and the behavioral signals along with campaign performance, it allows us to respond to briefs in a much more relevant way to the consumer, and we have the results to show it. So actually our speed in go-to-market has improved by 100% by deploying this agent. And then on top of that, from a business outcome, we see the performance as well. It's actually improved some of our click-through rates that our clients see by 30% there as well. So I think that is one of the, I think initial areas that was set up very, very well. And we're going to see, I think, that type of deployment push out to other channels in the very near future.
So impressive results, definitely. Yeah. Jeremy, what about the Teed side of things?
I think that first and foremost, if you kind of peel back a lot of the noise around AI, and there's tons of noise, obviously, it's simply, from a consumer experience, a new type of source of content. Like we've had many come to sort of the media consumption habits and patterns, and how we operate, how brands show up in the kind of more chat-based types of environments are still being designed. And we like to think of ourselves as builders and innovators and pioneers in new types of ad experiences, like what we did in mobile web many years ago with outstream video, what we've been doing in CTV with home screen advertising. This is, in some ways, simply and I don't want to just reduce it to this because there's much broader implications around AI, but first and foremost, we're starting with a new canvas, a new area that consumers are spending a lot of time getting information on potential consumption products, services, getting subtle recommendations steered by whatever LLM they're on, and how we can create, as an industry, great advertising experiences within those canvases, I think is obviously what many of us are designing at the moment. But fundamentally, it's time spent, people reading content. The next generation is, what happens when consumption goes much more agentic, and people are, automating that purchase to, for their next vacation to wherever they might be going, the south of France, and they're not making the decision on which airline they're going to, or they're going to use. They're not necessarily making the decision on maybe which hotel they're staying at, or something is getting kind of nudged in their way. And that's where I think giving consumers great experiences where we still have control, exposure to content that is engaging, immersive, innovative. Like, these are things that are going to be a lot more exciting for a consumer than just looking at some text-based interface. And so in some sense, it comes back to the creative, not just of the ad, but the creative of the experience, the immersive experiences that we can create to leverage AI and engage consumers in a much more powerful way.
I think you both said something really interesting just in how much the consumer experience and how they choose is going to change. So as a brand, thinking about that, how are you advising them on the ways that we need to rethink the traditional limits of media buying and media planning and strategy, from targeting and optimization to measurement?
Yeah, I think, so I'm going to give an example within one channel, right, and how the definition of this channel and what it is used for has changed, and that's video, right? So video forever, probably up until about 15 years ago, was very much a linear first, linear only, more of an upper funnel brand awareness driving channel. Now we have introduced, over the past, let's call it 10 years or so, 10 to 15 years, maybe supercharging the last 5 years, the definition of video has expanded into CTV. That gives a lot more, the ability to drive a lot more business results and, again, more personalizations, tying directly to commerce, things like that. We are now expanding, and again, this is driven by consumer behavior and thinking about how do we respond to it, expanding the definition of video into social video as well, right? Oh. So now you have the screen and you have people that are interacting with it in very, very different ways. So how do you plan for it, and how do you, activate against it? So I think, when we then think about the role that AI can play in helping to supercharge that, it is one from more of a contextual standpoint. You have all of these different pieces of content you have coming from all of these channels, and the way that AI can really help us curate that content based on, tone of content, brand guidelines, visual cues, things like that, bringing that in. Then when you think about, again, curating that further, AI is not limited by taxonomy. So when you think about that curation engine and how that, gets multiplied is really, really interesting. And then you think about how you, again, how you bid on it. And we're very focused on developing out our supply path optimization and our, bidding strategies within that to really eliminate waste from the system. So now you're taking these three things that in many aspects do exist within different walled gardens, but the way that you're using AI to bring it together, curate the content, activate the content, eliminate waste, and drive better results for clients. I think right now, there's no better example in terms of the opportunity than that.
Sounds like a massive opportunity, for sure. Jeremy, thoughts?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Katie was saying. I think the obvious thing that we're seeing across all sectors, including ours, is a lot of the kind of basic, routine, operational type work that is limited in value add is, as it's being automated, just opens us up, opens our teams up, opens our minds up to be able to focus in more strategic ways on the work, bring more innovation to the table, think about how we can try more things because we're not necessarily, or we're less bogged down in spreadsheets and campaign setups and things that are kind of perfectly ripe to be automated away. So that's exciting as well. Like what comes out of all of that free bandwidth and free mind space for all of us in the ecosystem, as a lot of those kind of more basic routine things get AI optimized.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot more opportunity for true innovation and creativity with that in mind. So, why don't we end with I think probably the most burning question for me personally, which is with so many different areas to focus. If I'm an advertiser, this is overwhelming to me, the amount of things that are changing and opportunities as well as challenges. What's the single most important thing you'd want your clients to keep in mind this year as they navigate? Where do they really need to focus in the near term?
Yeah. I think this is a very kind of at its core type of a question because, again, in our business, we are servicing our client's business, and I think how AI can help to augment, improve, deliver, greater automation, speed to market, truly how we're using it in the work that we're doing for clients. And a lot of the conversations that I've been in recently have been about just that. How does it help to improve the way that we work together, the way that we work on your behalf? And I think our view of that is that there is a balance and a need for both the, kind of let AI help machines do better what machines should do. And when we talk about automation and when we talk about speed and agility and, again, giving that aspect of it, to improve their business from that angle. And then allowing human creativity to still have a piece of it. And this all freeing up humans for what humans do best. Higher level, decision making, bringing real creativity to the process, storytelling. So again, I think it's the role of both of those things, but how do you orchestrate it all together to service the client's business? That is a very important topic of conversation today.
Right. Yeah. I like that thought of keeping the human soul at the core of what's next. That's great. Jeremy?
I would say, keep the child's mindset and be super curious. Get into the weeds on things, maybe a little bit more than you would normally, because things are moving quickly, and there's a lot to, as I said earlier, there's a lot of noise out there around AI, and the pace of innovation is only accelerating. So try things, be open-minded, try things. Bear in mind that the AI gets it wrong, a lot too. And the challenge, by the way, I mean, we're big believers in the agentic future, but when at every step along the chain, if you're just farming something out to an AI, those errors compound. So if you got something that's only 90% accurate, and then it's feeding something to the next agent that's only 90% accurate, mathematically, by the time you're done, you've got garbage.
You're wrong.
Or yeah, exactly. Or slop,
Yeah.
as it's called in the world. So try things. There's no AI is no panacea for all of the world's problems, and keep the child's mindset. I know you asked for one. I guess it was three, but
Those were great. Healthy skepticism,
Yeah.
for sure, is what I'm hearing. Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, for taking the time, and thank you to the Omnicom team for having us here.
Thank you so much.
You got the love. You got the love.